Every person who really changes has to hit that point of I've had enough. The trap that they live in is that they're afraid of letting go and they are stuck in what's most familiar to them. And people don't want to change what's familiar to them. I believe that success meant that I had to work hard and burn myself out to prove how hard I was working. I had this belief that if I wasn't burning myself out, I wasn't worthy of this success.
You have a choice. You can stop choosing to be in the same patterns. You can stop choosing bad habits. You can stop choosing bad friends. You can stop choosing anything that's keeping you back. But so many people are in this automatic default victim mentality.
Feelings aren't always telling you the truth about the situation. Your feelings are often programmed from childhood to be skeptical. I was not put here on this planet to do work that does not feel meaningful. I was not put here on this planet to worry about money and paying my bills. I was not put here on this planet to live a small life. I was put here by our creator on this planet with a purpose. And whenever I believe our soul is ready to hear that wisdom, we become awakened to it.
Adele, in one of your videos, you talked about the energy you need to show up with in order to attract the people and the opportunities you desire. I believe this is one of those things that, in a way, we all know it to be true in our heads, but we don't really put the effort to bring that energy out.
Mm-hmm.
Why is energy so important, and how can we show up with the right levels of it?
That's a great question. So, just to answer your first question, why is energy so important? Well, we're energetic beings. We are made up of cells that are energy. Everything about us is energy. And part of when I say showing up in the right energy, I always look at it more like aligning to the outcome that you desire. So I believe in showing up in life in a yes energy. So to me, a yes energy is I'm open to receiving the communication from the universe. I'm open to receiving the right opportunities. I'm open to saying yes to the next level. So for me, when it's showing up in the right energy, isn't necessarily always be enthusiastic or always be happy or always be on. It's actually be authentic, but be open to everything coming your way. One of the things I find with the women and the people that I work with is that so many of us kind of walk around with this closed off no energy, don't talk to me, don't ask me for anything, don't sell me anything, right? And it's you're just basically saying I'm not available for growth.
Right.
I'm not available. And people are doing this so unconsciously because most people, if you ask them if they're doing this, no, I'm so super open to life. And I'd be so what are your results? Are your results reflecting that you're open to life, or are they reflecting that you're closed? So for me, energy is not I always need to be positive, right? Which is this whole toxic positivity. You're not always going to feel positive. That being said, what I teach from an emotional intelligence perspective is that you have the power to choose how you want to interpret a situation and therefore how you want to feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how can you get into that yes attitude, into that yes energy when, as we just said, it's not always about feeling positive, but sometimes you might not even feel about that yes attitude. How can you maybe force yourself, even in a situations that you need to be in that energy, but you don't really quite feel like it?
It's such a great question. And the reason that it's a great question is that I'm someone that trains people's subconscious minds to actually be open to success in their life. And so many of the paradigms and patterns that we inherit as kids, we're just going to kind of go right in here if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's so much depth to this work and the question. It's there's the superficial, I don't feel like it. And then there's but why don't you feel like it? So for me, it's we're programmed as kids, most of us anyway, to be overly cautious and very risk adverse and very skeptical about anything. Really think growing up, as a girl growing up, my parents were don't talk to strangers, obviously don't do this. And these are all very important protective mechanisms that our parents do to make sure that we're safe. But what happens as adults is that we're carrying this like very skeptical, limiting mindset into our life. And I personally work with female entrepreneurs who want to grow and scale their impact and income. And then when they say to me, well, like, I don't feel like doing this next opportunity, I will often say, like, your feelings aren't always telling you the truth about the situation. Your feelings are often programmed from childhood to be skeptical. So it's like, I might not, and there, so let me, there's a nuance here though, because I think it's a great question. So if I'm having a bad day, I didn't have a good sleep, my resources are low, and someone comes to me and they're like, come be on my podcast, right? I might be like, oh, like I'm not in the mood to record a podcast right today. And that's okay to have that acknowledgement that I might not be in the mood today, but it doesn't mean that I am necessarily going to say, no, I'm not doing the podcast altogether. It's like, how can we both honor where we're at in the moment, but not close the door to the opportunity? Does that
Mhm,
make sense?
mhm. Yeah. And showing up with the right energy will make you so memorable in people's minds. Like think
Yes.
about your favorite colleague work and the effect that he or she has on your workday. Why do you light up when you're working with them? Is it because just the facts that they share or because they're very good at the job? No, to some extent maybe, but mainly because her energy and enthusiasm is so contagious. It's hard not to feel like great around her or around him. So
Mhm.
yeah, showing up with that energy, either be it at work, either be it with friends, either being everywhere, will just make you so much more memorable.
Yeah. There's a great quote that says, I think it's actually Maya Angelou. It's a quote that says, people will often not remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Exactly.
And for me, like as a leader, I think it's a very big responsibility, especially at this point in history, to be leading people. And part of leadership, I think, is showing up no matter what. Though it'll be showing up on days that you don't want to. It'll be showing up on days when you're under resourced. It'll be showing up on days when no one's watching. It'll be showing up on days where it's easy to quit. In my own personal journey, that has been how I have transcended and grown, is like showing up even when I didn't want to. Now, the one thing I'll add to that though is that it's important to also listen to your intuition. So what I mean by that is like you will have opportunities that show up in your life that aren't necessarily the right opportunities for you. So it's actually okay to say no to those opportunities. That I think that's the nuance that often people will ask me like, well, how do I know if it's the right opportunity or how do I know if it's not the right opportunity? And I think that's where there's a little bit of trial and error, and then there's the emotional maturity and mastery to be like, is this opportunity in alignment with where I'm going, or is this just a distraction?
Right. And it can be a distraction because many people, not everyone gets opportunities in life. And
Mm,
I would assume, or most people I've seen come from a scarcity opportunity position. So
mhm.
any opportunity that comes to them, they'll be more inclined to say yes.
Yes.
So I can see how, yeah, how people can get the wrong opportunity for them and how can then
Yes.
affect their life.
Yeah, because they're coming from scarcity, which is not coming from intuition. So
Mhm,
scarcity is coming from there's never enough, so I have to take anything I can get, right?
mhm.
Whereas intuition is saying I have everything I already want and need, and this is in alignment with where I'm going. So it's like literally a completely different orientation in the mind.
Mhm. Is there a sort of energy you would specifically urge people to avoid?
What do you mean by that?
All right. So you have some certain negative feelings. Maybe you feel you come across as groggy all the time. Maybe you come across as someone who is, I don't know, maybe jealous, maybe insecure, or maybe is your posture. Is it one sort of energy that you think people should avoid getting into the most? Because there's a lot of harmful ones, but which one serves us the
The least?
least?
Yeah.
The least,
Mhm.
yeah.
I would say shame and guilt are the 2 frequencies that serve us the
Shame and
least.
guilt. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
How so?
So, basically, every human so, okay, let's go back to the childhood. So, this all everything really just stems from that. So, I'll start by saying every emotion is valuable in that it's showing you an insight, okay? So, like, if I'm feeling angry, what that anger is actually telling me, if I go beyond the anger, like what's behind the anger is usually feeling afraid. So people that are typically angry are actually very scared. Okay.
Mm.
People that are always jealous, right? Like, what's the jealousy telling you? The jealousy might be telling you that you don't feel like you can have what that other person wants, which is stemming from a wound, feeling like you're not worthy, right? So
Sure.
if you just look at the emotion and you say, well, this is good or this is bad, none of them are inherently good or bad because actually they're telling you something. There's information inside of it. So one of the exercises I have my clients do is like, what's this emotion telling you? It can be like a great kind of litmus. That being said, I would say the most destructive emotions are shame and guilt. So why? I don't know if you've ever heard of David Hawkins' work. Have you heard of the scale of consciousness?
Not really.
Okay, so Dr. David Hawkins, who was the pioneer in, I would say, like all of the work around consciousness, he developed a scale, and the scale of consciousness was actually that um, neuroscientifically, every emotion emitted a certain frequency. Okay. So if you think about the emotion of joy, it had a very high frequency versus an emotion of anger had a lower frequency, right?
Right.
It's very common sense. And what Dr. Hawkins found in his research was that the emotions of shame and guilt, so shame is the lowest, shame vibrated almost at the frequency of death. Okay.
Wow.
Like really low. I think it's like I have the book somewhere, but like off the top of my head, it's like shame is 20 hertz. Um, Guilt is like 30 hertz, and give you context, joy and love are 500 hertz. So
Yeah.
like if you think about that, okay, and then there's all these other emotions in between. So the thing about shame and guilt and why they're so destructive is because they're such low frequency emotions. So when you think about people that mm, self-harm, and I don't even mean like physically self-harm, but they self-harm by the stories and stuff they tell themselves all the time. You're
Mhm.
stupid, you're not good enough, like you're not smart, you're a failure. Like this is the kinds of stuff that people talk about to themselves. That kind of narrative is usually coming from a feeling of shame. Like there's something wrong with me, right? So when people are doing destructive things like, I started my career in addiction, eating disorders and addiction and recovery. Usually, when you look at why do people harm themselves in those kinds of ways, well, often there was trauma earlier on, and that very much is how they deal with the shame that they feel inside themselves. So
Mhm.
it's like a numbing agent, if that makes sense. So it's hard to tell someone avoid feeling shame because it's like it's literally all they know. So
Right.
then the question is, how do we get rid of that? How do we heal, not get rid of? How do we heal the shame and the guilt? And that is fundamentally the work that I do is really helping people heal that part of them. Let's call that wounded inner child that did not get his or her needs met as a kid or experienced some form of trauma as a kid, and then essentially is in an adult body but living from a childlike mind. That's
Mhm.
really the work.
Must be difficult.
I,
It's
which part?
of healing all that shame and guilt from the trauma of the childhood. This must be so much work, really.
Well, it's so interesting that you say that. Is it so much work? Well, does it take effort? Yes. Does
Hmm.
it take intentionality? Yes. But like I take people through a process that actually doesn't have to be hard. I think it's about I always say to people, what's harder, living with that trauma or letting it go?
Right. Yes. Of course, letting it go. Letting it go is less. Yeah. So living with the trauma is harder. Yeah.
But that being your point is very valid. I would say 90% of people won't do the work because
Mhm.
the trap that they live in is that they're afraid of letting go and they are stuck in what's most familiar to them, and people don't want to change what's familiar to them. So even if it's something that's toxic or doesn't feel good, or you're overweight, or you're drinking too much, or whatever you're in scarcity, whatever it is, whilst that's uncomfortable, the change is more uncomfortable in their mind, so they would rather stay where they're comfortable.
Right. And if and when they decide to change, then they are specifying these criteria of success and failure. And they
Mhm.
have the idea of, well, maybe I will fail in changing.
Yes.
Whereas if they remain in these familiar patterns,
Mhm.
they will never fail because they never even got out of the comfort zone or try to become someone else.
It's like they're not, it's like not even trying reaffirms that they don't have to fail, right?
Exactly.
Totally. But I reframe it differently. And this is why, like, I'll be honest, at this point in my career, I don't work with people that don't want to change. So when I was first starting in my career, I mean, I've been doing this for 22 years now, but when I first started working with people in this way, I was talking to people. My client avatar was like the person that doesn't even know they need to change yet, right? It's like, or like they know that there's something off, but they've never done the work before. They're
Hmm.
like totally unconscious that there is another way. They're so stuck in their patterns, etc. So that was who I used to work with. And it was important work. I'm now at a point where the women and the people that I serve, and I say women because I predominantly work with female
Yeah.
leaders, they're not unconscious anymore. They already know that they want to do the work to change. So
Hmm.
why is this important? We're already getting rid of the first barrier of resistance.
True.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm
Hmm.
willingly going to participate in the fact that I want to go to the next level in my life and I have to let go of these things that don't serve me and I'm not trying to hold on. Whereas before I used to work with people that didn't even know that they wanted to change yet.
Hmm.
So I think with to your point with this work, it can be very hard if you don't even know you want to change. But it's actually very easy when you've made the decision to change.
Right. And do you think there's this common idea that you need to kind of hit rock bottom or go in a position in life that you are struggling so much in order to finally decide that you need to change? Do you think, of course, there's some truth to that, but do you think maybe, is it necessary? Do we really have to hit rock bottom or can we
Mhm.
catch ourselves even before that and, decide to change?
That's a really good question. It's funny, someone asked me that question the other day. So so I have an answer for that question. Um so my opinion is, so I'll kind of share my personal story around this and then I'll give you an answer to that.
Yeah.
So my personal story around hitting rock bottom was, or like my version of rock bottom. So let's be clear. Everyone's version of rock bottom is different. Like
Yeah.
to me, to an addict, rock bottom is you almost kill yourself. Okay. But rock bottom doesn't need to be life or death. It can be the death of the old version of you. It can be like my rock bottom was like 7, 8 years ago when I was working as a therapist in a brick and mortar practice before the pandemic. And I was working with male CEOs downtown Toronto, and I was doing work that just felt soul crushing. Like I was not aligned or happy anymore. And I wasn't making enough money to even pay my team. And I was a single mother to a small child who he was about 2.5, 3 at the time. And I was stressing about my bills and I was stressing and I felt so like out of alignment. Right.
Mm.
And my rock bottom was I came home one day and I crawled up into the fetal position on my couch and I literally just said to God or universe, I didn't even believe in God. And I wasn't even clear who I was praying to be honest, at the time. But I was just like, I will do anything. Like, just give me a sign. Like, I can't do this anymore.
Hmm.
And so I didn't have to drink myself into a stupor or like do anything like that. But I had what I would think is more of an existential rock bottom, right? It's like a spiritual awakening where you're like, this is not, this is not what I signed up for. This is not the life that why did I go through all of those years of education and training? This is not who I am. This is not how it should feel. Something feels really off. And so when I work with people, like I've reframed it that rock bottom doesn't need to be like a life or death moment, quite literally, but
Hmm.
there has to be a moment of it's like a jolt in your consciousness, if that makes sense, where you're like, I can't do this anymore. And it's no different than when you're in a relationship people that are in abusive relationships and one day they wake up and they say, like, I'm fucking out of here. I can't do
Enough,
this.
yeah.
I've had enough. Exactly. I've had enough. Every person who really changes has to hit that point of I've had enough. It doesn't mean they have to almost die. But why I say that is that there has to be enough tension or urgency between the life that you're living and the life that you want to live. There has to be some pain point, I would say, where you're like, this isn't what I want anymore. And then that's when transformation happens in a minute. Like that's when you're like, okay, you hear the voice of a direction or guidance, someone reaches out to you to do this, like things start to move. So I hope I've answered that, where I don't think you have to hit rock bottom in the way that we view rock bottom, but I do believe you have to have, I like to call it more like a come to Jesus moment or a come to awakening moment, where you're like, I was not put here on this planet to suffer. I was not put here on this planet to do work that does not feel meaningful. I was not put here on this planet to worry about money and paying my bills. I was not put here on this planet to live a small life. I was put here by our creator on this planet with a purpose. And whenever I believe our soul is ready to hear that wisdom, we become awakened to it. So that would be my answer to the rock bottom question.
Right. Right. No, can relate. And I
Yeah.
agreed. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about the power of the subconscious mind, how it influences our behavior, how it primes us for success or failure, or how it programs us in childhood. Explain to our audience what is the subconscious mind and how much control does it have over our decisions and actions?
Okay. That's a big one. So our subconscious mind controls 95% of our behavior unconsciously. So let me
Mhm.
explain what it is. So the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind, I call it they're both used interchangeably, but I'll call it the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is the part of our mind that holds every piece of information that's ever happened to us, every feeling that we've ever experienced. And most recently, I think that the science says that the subconscious mind actually starts to get programmed in utero. So while you're in mom's belly, so not even just when you're born, but like really
Oh,
preconception in the conception phase. And well, the mother is speaking to baby. The baby is imprinting the feelings of the mother unconsciously, etc. So the subconscious mind is the part of our mind that turns everything into a habit. So, what does that mean? You don't have to remember how to brush your teeth or how to drive a vehicle. Once something is turned over to your subconscious mind, it becomes habitual. It's also what regulates our nervous system, our parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous system. It's basically just in control. Because if you think about it, imagine a human being had to relearn how to tie his shoes every day. That would just be cognitive overload, right?
yeah.
So we've evolved into a being that has this ability to pretty much go on rote over like basically turn your brain to autopilot, where you're
Mhm.
like 95, most people are just walking around all day in like an unconscious state because your subconscious mind is controlling everything. So the important part about the subconscious mind is that when children are born, up until the age of 7 or 8, they don't have a conscious mind yet. So, what does that mean? They don't have the ability to critically think about something. They're
Mhm.
just in their subconscious mind. So, I don't know if do you have kids of your own?
No.
Okay. So, I have a son and he's 9. And when he was a, small kid, up until actually like the age of 7, I could say the craziest thing and he would believe me. Like if he would say like, where are you going? And as a joke, I'd be like, I'm going to the moon. And he would be like, really? And I was like, no, I'm not going to the moon. So children are in this hypnotic state because the subconscious mind um, operates more in theta and alpha states. So it's like picking up on everything. And that's why kids are sponges, right? They're literally like their brain is like soaking everything in. Now, the problem, so that is good qualities, but the problem with that is that the child, because it doesn't have the ability to discern good, bad, right, wrong, everything that's going on around the child up until the age of 7 just gets shoved into the subconscious mind, and things that were repeated over and over again become imprinted into the subconscious mind and they form beliefs. Okay. So this is why early childhood, how do I say this? Family systems work and inner child work is like, if people try to override that, they're not understanding that everything that they currently believe to be true about themselves and the world comes from what happened to them in that block of time as a kid.
Hmm.
So, what does that mean in practical terms? Like, if I grew up in an environment that was chaotic, let's say. Maybe my parents were fighting all the time. Maybe my parents got divorced. Maybe one of my parents drank too much alcohol. Maybe my parents traveled a lot. Maybe I moved around a lot. Like, there was unpredictability for a child. And what do kids need the most? Well, they need safety and predictability and certainty. That's what kids need. But if a child grew up in an uncertain, unpredictable, chaotic environment, what do you think they might believe about life?
That I don't know, they'll feel uncertain about potential outcomes.
Yeah.
They will feel that life is always chaotic, no matter how much they try to
Mhm.
influence the world.
Mhm.
They'll
Yeah.
feel more lost, perhaps.
Totally. Might they
Yeah,
also feel unsafe?
unsafe. Yeah.
Mm. So if a child's feeling lost, unsafe, that things are always chaotic, what might the child do to try to gain some level of certainty?
Hmm. Well, definitely control the immediate environment, but perhaps in unhealthy ways that don't they think they serve them, but maybe they're just harming themselves
Yeah.
more.
You just said it, bingo. They'll try to control their external environment.
Hmm.
So when you see an adult who has overly controlling tendencies,
Hmm.
what might that mean about their childhood?
Right, that they were raised in that chaotic environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they were raised in a very controlling environment. So patterns are either adopted 100%. So if you grew up in, like, my mom was a control freak, I'm a control freak, or I had no stability in my home and I tried to control my circumstances to create some safety.
Yeah.
So that is how the subconscious mind, it's so powerful. Like, I don't actually think people really understand that it's the most powerful governing force that they have for both good. Yeah, go ahead.
But it can be influenced, right? It can be to some degree. We can change
Of course.
as adults with deliberate practice. What is the most
That's
proven
what I
way
do.
to? Sorry again.
That's the work that I do, is rewiring
Exactly.
the subconscious mind. Mhm.
So, what do you think has is the most proven way to access and influence the subconscious mind so far?
Yeah. So we know that the only way the subconscious mind is rewired through neuroplasticity is through spaced repetition over time, which I'll give an example of, or sudden emotional impact. So what does that mean? So a child's subconscious mind got programmed through spaced repetition over time. So meaning that if your parents said to you, "Oh, like as a kid, like you're lazy, you're shy," like if they repeated certain things to you about your identity, you start to believe, "I'm lazy, I'm shy." Okay, because it was repeated to you all the time. Or if your parents said, money is bad and the root of all evil and people with money are a certain way, you're going to adopt that exact belief. Okay, because the subconscious mind just takes it, and it cannot, as a kid, you cannot discern that that's true or not true.
Hmm.
As an adult, if you're looking at changing beliefs and rewiring patterns or rewiring the mind, then you also have to do it through spaced repetition over time by infusing it with the things you want to believe.
Hmm.
So I ask my clients, and I ask them this question in a course that I teach, that I was just teaching today. A really great question that I ask people is, what do you want to be true for you? Or what gets to be true for you? So, for example, what gets to be true for me as a new belief is that success is easy.
Hmm.
Money is my birthright. Happiness is my birthright. I get to do things that feel aligned. Relationships get to be nurturing. Like whatever it is that what gets to be true for you, because you took on these beliefs as a child and you didn't sit there and go, do I agree with that? Yes or no? You just took it on. And
Mhm.
when you're rewiring the mind, you have to repeatedly be telling your mind the new truth. So it's like, so that can be through affirmations. It could be through saying it out loud. It could be through repeating it over and over again throughout the day, like basically a practice of repeating. And then sudden emotional impact is if you think about people that experience trauma in the form of like a car accident, or if they live in a war-torn country, or they actually had something that was traumatic in an impactful way. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
will also create like a pattern or a belief. So what we say in like the neuroscientific space around reprogramming your mind is that spaced repetition over time is essential. But if you also add sudden emotional impact, so what does that mean? So I have my clients often like say their affirmations out loud with a certain level of energy
Mhm.
because it's shocking the mind to stop going down the pattern that it's going and to redirect it.
Mhm.
Does that
A
make
lot
sense?
of yeah, it makes sense because a lot of our memory is connected to emotions that we felt at the moment of experiencing the thing.
Mhm.
So if you keep priming yourself with a certain with a certain emotion and the affirmation, yeah,
Yeah.
you associate the two of them and you start believing it, perhaps.
Well,
But
for sure.
what is the difference between a good affirmation and a forgettable one? Because you could be saying, let's say someone doesn't is not part of your masterclass and is trying to do affirmations at home, like trial
Mhm.
and error.
Yeah.
What's a good one? What's a forgettable one?
I don't know what you mean by forgettable.
Forgettable, I mean, some of them might be so vague. People might think that it's a good positive one, but they might be vague. Oh, I want more money. Is it good? Is it bad? Should it be more specific?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's what I mean.
So
Forgettable one.
totally. So I think when it comes to affirmations, I don't even like the word affirmation because I think people there's been this like butchering of some of these words where people just think if I like just say my affirmations in the mirror, then everything's going to change. Okay, that's just not how it works. It's actually more, if I could say, a command to your subconscious mind. Like a command could be, I deserve to have everything that I want in my life. I am worthy of love and success. My success gets to be easy. I am always divinely guided and supported. Everything is working out for me in my highest and best good. It's a command, it's a demand. It's like, this is what's happening.
Mhm.
I am worthy of healthy relationships in my life. I deserve to be loved for who I am, right? I was born worthy and nothing has changed. What's really doing is it's speaking to your core wounds as a kid versus affirmations like I want $8 million by Tuesday. That's where it's all kind of gone to shit, to be honest, because the truth about rewiring your mind is that it's not about visualizing the desire that you want, which is a whole other category of visualization, and visualize the goal.
Mhm.
Rewiring your subconscious mind is actually rewiring the part of you, that inner child that believes that they're unworthy and unlovable. So it's commanding that you are worthy. I am worthy. It's always an I am statement because you're really speaking to the I amness, like I am worthy. I deserve love in my life.
Mhm.
Success comes to me with ease. People come to me that feel aligned. Whatever it is, like I'm divinely guided and protected. Everything's happening for my highest and best good. Like these are universal truths, to be honest. So then when you repeat these over and over and over again, and you do it with a certain emotion, right? A heightened emotion, it sinks into your subconscious mind over time.
Right. I wonder, what's one subconscious belief that you held on for years that you finally rewired?
It's a good question. I would say that the one that I held on to for years that I didn't even know I was holding on to until I started to go deep down this work was that I believed that success meant that I had to work hard and burn myself out to
Mm.
prove how hard I was working, right? So what does that mean? Like, I think a lot of people who were raised with immigrant parents, like my parents were immigrants and they came to a different country and literally worked their asses off,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I'm not taking away from hard work because I do believe that you do have to have work ethic, but I believe that I I had this belief that if I wasn't burning myself out, I wasn't worthy of the success, right?
Mm.
And I see that in a lot of my clients. It's like I have to burn out to prove that I've struggled so much to deserve this. But the truth of the universe is that success is actually easy. If you look in nature, a tree is not trying to figure out how to be a tree. A tree blooms in the spring, right? The squirrel has its purpose and isn't trying to figure out how to be an elephant. It's just being a squirrel. And when you look at nature, when it's not interrupted by human form, nature on its own is always successful. It's meaning that the spring the flowers bloom, and the winter everything dies, but it's growing underneath for the, so the seasons are changing
Yeah.
naturally. So one of the things that I really was working on at the beginning of this for myself was, what if success could actually be easy?
Mm.
So what did that start to do is I started to repeat that over and over. Like I literally would stomp around my house repeating that like a crazy person. I would go out for walks in nature and be like, success is easy, success is easy. And my little son at the time was like 3 and he would like, march around behind me like he thought I was absolutely fucking loony. But over time, over time, I started to believe that success was easy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what happened? Number one, my results started to change.
Mm-hmm.
As I started to believe that success gets to be easy, I was able to say to myself, okay, what's the easiest way to get this result that I want? Okay. And then I would start to have ideas and then I would take actions on those ideas, etc. Versus people that believe success has to be hard, they find the hardest path to the outcome. Literally, they'll be like, what if I do this and then this and then this? And there's like 19 steps. And I'm like, no, there's 2 steps. So part of what I help people really do is simplify that like chaotic thing that they do where they make it really hard so that they seem like they're really smart and then they've earned their success.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's very simple.
Yeah,
I
that
had
sounds very relatable. I'm sure most people can relate. I can certainly relate as a son of immigrant parents.
that you
Yeah.
make it hard.
Yeah, a lot of it perhaps has to do with the stories we've been told as kids, as we just said before, that for an immigrant parent is a lot of tough love, especially if they come from a post-communist country, where
Yep.
it's like there's never enough. Like
Yes.
you should excel, and perhaps you carry on that into adulthood, that it's never enough.
Yes,
No
definitely.
matter what you bring. Oh, you brought a B plus. Is it, why is it not an A?
Yes.
Because this is not my first language. This is I'm perhaps that, or yeah. So
Yes.
totally relatable.
Yeah, so to your point, my parents left a communist country, and so when you think about the mindset of people that left that kind of regime, it's like it's rooted in fear, it's rooted in scarcity, it's rooted in
Yeah,
not
a
enough,
lot of scarcity. Yeah.
a lot of scarcity. It's rooted
Mm.
in, if you don't get an A plus, you won't succeed in life,
Yeah.
right? It's perfectionism, it's all that. So I had to overcome all of that.
Mm.
But really at the core of it was that I was making things hard because things were hard for my parents. So
Yeah.
how could it be easy for me if it was hard for them? Like we want to stay patriotic to our family. We want to I talk about this a lot, like a lot of people don't let go of these stories because they feel like they're turning their back on their parents. And
Mm.
I always say, no, honor your parents and let go of the story.
I never
Like,
thought of that this way. It's quite
what?
interesting. I never thought of that this way.
Yeah,
Quite
honor your
interesting.
parents, but detach from the story. Like,
Mm.
so there's all these pieces, but that's why the success is easy part was so profound for me because it transformed everything. It transformed not just success financially. It was like my relationships could be easier and my relationship to my body could be easier and like everything could be easier. It wasn't just financial success. I believe that financial success and success in other areas, it's all the same principles. It's all the same energy. It's all the same belief patterns, to be honest. If someone has scarcity around money, they also usually have scarcity around time. They're the people that I never have time for anything,
Mm.
right? And it's like, how many hours did you spend on social media today? I'm pretty sure you had time to do that, you know? So that's why that was such a big one for me, because I was determined to break that generational pattern
Yeah.
so that my son could experience life differently. Like, you know, the perfectionism and the pressure that I put on myself as a kid was just fucking horrific. Like, it was not fun. And I'm teaching my son excellence over perfection, right? Meaning bring your best every day.
Mm.
But you're going to make mistakes, and that's fantastic because you're going to learn from them.
I like that. Yeah.
Whereas my parents were like, if you make mistakes, you're in shit. Right? Like, you're in
Yeah.
trouble if you make a mistake.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
In your blueprint masterclass, you teach visualization, correct?
Mhm,
Now, this is a practice that many successful people say they do. Tony
mhm,
Robbins talks about it a lot. Andrew Huberman, as of recently, from my experience. Jim Carrey is another example.
mhm,
Conor McGregor attributes a big part of his success actually to visualization.
mhm.
Why do you think visualization works?
Well, there's actually, it's not why I think it works. It's that there's actual neuroscience behind why visualization works.
All
So,
right.
we can talk about that. So essentially, our most people don't realize that their conscious mind is always thinking in pictures. So, for example, if I say to you, think about a car,
Mhm.
just do this for a sec, like think about a car. What is it that's happening in your mind?
It's forming a car,
You
like
picturing a car?
like the silhouette, or yeah,
Yeah. So you're picturing a car,
I'm
right?
picturing a car. Yeah.
Yeah. So our mind is always thinking in pictures. And when we bring conscious awareness to our conscious mind and the faculties of the visualization process, we can start to visualize the desired outcome that we want. So athletes do this all the time, where they visualize the ball going into the net. Like, literally. Like, I think there's been so much research actually around, like, athletes who visualize the ball going into the net, let's say in basketball, are 90% more likely to get the ball in the net. Like, it's actually
Mhm.
an astronomical number.
Yeah,
And
crazy.
so the reason is that you're actually creating neural pathways in the mind to visualize an outcome that you have not yet produced, but you're creating the neurocircuitry in the mind first so that you're able to manifest it in the reality after. Because
Mhm.
manifestation, really, if you drill it down to its simplest form, is that your image of a picture in your mind first is the first stage of visualization. So, that being said, if you can't even picture what you want, or you're not clear, you're not going to be close to creating it, because you have to be like, for example, you'd be like, oh, I want to move to Florida, I want to move to Miami. So, like, you're visualizing yourself walking on the beach, like your feet in the sand, noticing what it feels like, what it looks like, what it smells like, the palm trees, the building that you want to live in. And you don't just visualize once and then you, like, forget about it. It's like a constant thing that you're doing.
Mm.
It's like a conscious practice of, like, what do I want to be experiencing? And that's truly why people do vision boards. It's very similar, where, like, because we are visual people and we visual creatures and we think in pictures, if I can see it in a picture, and then I can put that picture in my mind, that will come to manifestation.
All right. All right. And
Mhm.
it seems more achievable rather than just a whatever distant dream or something. But
Totally.
and what are some best practices for visualization? Should we do it in the morning, at night, before we eat, once a week, once a
Yeah.
day? Should it last for a minute, for 10? What do you recommend?
So I I believe that people, so you're either, I think it's best to visualize either first thing in the morning or before you go to bed. And the reason being is that your mind is, when you come out of sleep, or just before going into sleep, your brain is in theta wave state. And theta wave state is how you're most susceptible to suggestion. So the mind is more relaxed and you're able to visualize more easily. Okay. So I would say, whether morning or night, you can't go wrong. And there's no real best practices. Like, for me, it's really about, you can't visualize incorrectly, but you have to sort of do it over and over again, because if you're not someone who is as visual, so meaning like some people have a harder time visualizing, the more they practice visualization, the easier and the crisper the images become. So I would say
Mhm.
visualization daily. Like, why wouldn't you go to bed visualizing what you want to happen?
Mhm.
Or why
Yeah.
wouldn't you wake up in the morning before you grab your iPhone and start scrolling on the internet? Like, lie in bed with your hand on your heart or hand on your belly and take a deep breath, and then just kind of anchor into your body, and then think about what is it that you truly desire, and think about that in a picture form. And then the more you can visualize it but also feel the felt sense of it, like, oh, that would feel so peaceful or joyful, or I'd feel so grateful, right? That would be so amazing. Like, what's the positive emotion that you can link with that picture? And the more and it can just be for a few minutes. Honestly, this shouldn't take you 30 minutes. I just do it in the morning, where I just bring consciousness to what I'm creating, what I want, the picture that I'm creating, like the manifestation that I want, and I give it a conscious few minutes, and then I carry on.
Mhm. Yeah, and a common misconception and why manifestation has such a bad rep sometimes on the internet is because people think, oh, you just feel it and then it happens. It's like, no, no, no. You just feel it so that you get a good hit of it, like feel nice of how it is. Imagine it, you have the thing you want. You need that deliberate effort after that.
Of
So
course.
this just primes you to
Mhm.
get in the state of mind to pursue the thing. It's not just manifest or think and it's gonna happen.
No, no. And it's not just it gets you in the state of mind. Like, it's that when you start to think about the creation that you want or the thing that you desire, and you think about it and you feel into it, you're also then accessing what are the next opportunities that are going to come to you because you're now focused on that. So, does that make sense?
You
Like,
gain clarity. You
you're,
gain more
and
clarity. Yeah.
things are start to move to you that you
Yeah.
then have to take action on. So that's
Right.
the point, is that you can't just think your way into results. You have
Mm-hmm.
to think, visualize, and move,
Mm-hmm.
act. And people don't like that last part. They just want to, like, oh, I thought about it and I sat and meditated on it and I felt into it and felt amazing. And then I'm like, great, what'd you do about it after? Like, what actions did you take? What That's the piece with cause and effect that people really need to understand, is that you're the cause, everything else is the effect. That means that
Mm-hmm.
you actually have to be taking consistent actions every day.
Yeah. Yeah. In a way, it's a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. We
Mhm.
convince ourselves an outcome will occur. That belief makes us act in a way that someone with that outcome would behave. And
Yes.
that behavior, influenced by expectation, leads to those imagined outcomes actually happening because we took action as a person who believes that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Now, is this for everyone? Can someone who is generally extremely skeptical practice visualization and still benefit? Or do you really need to believe in it for that to happen?
I think both, and so I'll answer that in two ways. One, I think anyone can do this because this is what we're born to be visual. We're actually born to use our imagination. It's one of the faculties of our intellect, and
Mm.
we're actually meant to use our imagination in positive, constructive ways. Most people use their imagination in negative, constructive ways. They think about everything they don't want to experience, and then they create that outcome. So my point
Mm.
is, people are always manifesting. They're just usually manifesting what they don't want.
Right.
But if you bring awareness to it, you can then start manifesting what you do want. So being skeptical is kind of like saying, do I believe in gravity? Well, I don't know. Well, you're not floating off your chair. This is like neuroscience. So there's nothing to be skeptical about, because you don't wake up in the morning and go, I want bad things to happen. I want bad things to happen. But bad things happen. Why? Because most people are thinking about what they don't want all day long.
Hmm.
What if you started thinking about what you do want all day long and picturing it?
Right.
Practice, see for yourself, be your own scientist. I always say to people, you don't have to believe me, do the practice and see.
Mhm. No, you're right. Most people just trying to run away from the things they don't want rather than move towards the
100%.
things they truly desire.
Yes.
Wait, but where does this come from? Is it education? Is it society? Always being in this state of fear, of avoidance, of just
Mm.
trying to run away rather
Yeah.
than running forward.
I think it's rooted in childhood conditioning, like I said, not feeling safe, not feeling trusting, feeling skeptical about life. Our parents, especially growing up where they grew up, like it was really a survival thing. And so a lot of this running away from avoidance patterns is just a pattern that kids inherit growing up. And then when they don't when they're not conscious of it, they just believe that that's how life is and that's how they are, right? And one day when people are ready, they'll have an awakening where they might just ask a different question, like, oh, like, is that how life is? Like, you know what I mean? So it just, even that opening a gap creates room for something new to come in. So, you know, why do most people run away? Because that's how they were raised. They
Yeah.
see their parents running away. They see their parents avoiding. They see everyone being so risk adverse, like so afraid to make a mistake. And so they just don't do anything with their life. And then somehow that's better than making a mistake. So I think it's society, I think it's conditioning, I think it's cultural, I think it's gender related. I think it's all kinds of things. It's all kinds of imprints. But it's up to us as adults, humans who have the power to choose to say, I don't have to live through that belief system anymore. Like I don't have to believe that I did when I was a kid. I can actually choose a different set of beliefs. I can choose different outcomes. My greatest power is my power to choose. I don't have to be unconscious to this anymore. And maybe for some people, even listening to this conversation will be the wake up call to be like, wait a minute, let me re-examine what I'm doing here.
That's so big, what you said, the power to choose. So many people just don't even compute that. For them, it's a victim mentality. Is the, oh, I'm gonna be poor because my family always been poor. It's like, no, no, no. You have a choice. You can stop choosing to be in the same patterns. You can stop choosing bad habits. You can stop choosing bad friends. You can stop choosing anything that's keeping you back. But so many people are in this automatic default victim mentality. Oh, it's the government. Oh, it's my lineage. Oh, I'm a simple man. Well, what sort of influence can I have? I'll just go and do my thing. It's this limited beliefs we place in ourselves, but
Yes.
we do have choice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the one thing that we have up through and through is God, source, spirit, mother nature created us with the power to choose and our own free will. So you always have the power of choice. Now, most people don't believe they have the power of choice, to your point, the victim mentality. But the truth is that no one is choosing how you're feeling other than you. No one is choosing how you react or respond other than you. No one is choosing your circumstances other than you. You're choosing them. And that is actually the first place that I start with people when I work with them, is teaching them the power of personal responsibility and ownership, not blame, not victim consciousness, not poor me and oh my God. It's I'm choosing to have this experience. Even though this experience fucking sucks, I'm choosing it. Why am I choosing it? Do I want to keep choosing it? And that's
Right.
the real wake up call for people. It's like, if you're broke, you're choosing it. If you're unhealthy, you're choosing it. If you're in a toxic relationship, you have the power to leave. So that's, I think, one of the most important things that we can instill on our children and the younger generation is this power to choose. Um, because I think it's actually the fundamental key component to all success in life is understanding your own power to choose.
I thought right away one of the most common example is so many students I've met, they study something just because their parents wanted them to study something. And it's like no one gives a fuck. No,
Mhm.
they just waste the money just to make the parents happy. And as a parent, if you just ask, do you want to go to uni, instead
Yeah.
of you should go to uni because whatever you need it for a job, because I'm projecting my unrealized desires. But it's like just simple things such as asking and giving your kid the choice of like, do you actually want to go to the uni? No, okay, well, fine, let's find something that works for you then.
Yeah, exactly.
I see it
Exactly.
way too it's way too common, way too common. All right, I got a quote here from you. It
Okay.
says, what stands between you and your desires is everything you tolerate.
hmm
How exactly do the things we tolerate get in the way from getting what we want in life?
I mean, it's pretty clear. If you are tolerating your brokenness and your poverty mindset and your scarcity, you will not achieve abundance. If you are tolerating um, people that are disrespectful to you in your life, you will never feel worthy enough to bring in the relationship that you want. If you are tolerating being overweight or poor health, then you will never achieve the health that you want. Like, your tolerations stand between where you are and where you want to go.
Mm,
So when you realize that you're tolerating it, it's no different than choosing it kind of idea. Then you have the power to say, do I want to keep tolerating this? And if it's no, then what would be the new standards that you're setting for yourself? So
right.
I don't hang out with people that are rude to me. I don't eat shit and put it in my body. I don't, whatever it is, like whatever it is that you're tolerating is standing between you and your next level.
That sounds like a lot like people are not putting themselves first. Tolerating something that doesn't serve you is basically not looking after yourself in a way. Being
Very
afraid either of conflict, either of whatever, just not putting yourself first, putting yourself last.
well. It's rooted in people pleasing. It's rooted in fear of creating any disconnect with people. It's all rooted in the fear of abandonment, to be honest. You're basically tolerating shit that doesn't serve you because you're so terrified that people will leave you and you'll be alone. But the reframe on that is that betraying yourself to please others is the greatest self-annihilation known to mankind.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Adele, last question.
Okay.
What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh my God. I think for being a pioneer in this work, especially as a female leader and an empowered female leader, to inspire other women to go for greatness, I think to inspire just humanity to raise themselves up, to break generational patterns, to be cycle breakers in their family, to be the ones that say this, it ends with me, it ends with us. Um, to raise more conscious children, right? To have a different kind of planet. Um, yeah, and to just be seen and known as to leave a legacy, I think, really around this work and training other people to do the work that I do so that we can spread the healing. Because I think we're walking around a lot like with a lot of wounded people. And I think if we can heal those wounds, we can heal a lot of generational trauma.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Adele, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic.